Well, sir. That's great. Hey, everyone. Andy Hall. And look at me. I'm syncing up right, I think. Duct Tape Pro, Simply Secular Dave is here. And of course, Grant Farmer's here. And I still didn't silence my thing. I got to silence things. And if anyone wants to join us in here for 20 Atheist, what's up, Sammy? I consider silence to be positive.
Yes.
Hey.
Silence is complicity.
It is. So how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing well.
You're doing
I saw our friend Grant here last night on Neil's show. He was asking about Neil was asking about drinking out loud on Saturday at 2:00 Pacific time.
Yes. I'm glad that people who watch the shows see this is how disorganized I am. I'm usually today. The show's tomorrow. I'll start like messaging Neil and Seamus. It's like, so we're doing this thing on Saturday, right? Just to confirm. I'm glad everyone else is trying to hurt us.
Well, Neil said, and join us on Saturday for Laughing in Disbelief at 2 p.m. Pacific. I haven't checked. I should probably talk to the other hosts. It should be happening.
I'm sure on Seamus's show too, Free Thought Profits, he's saying something similar to that. And I was like, well, I think I'm doing this thing over there.
Yeah.
Head on over it. Blah 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 time. Yeah. So that's the well-oiled machine that I run here on this channel, and I'm still trying to think about what I'm going to do for a show on Sunday night, the 10:30 late show. I still don't have a guest, and as you can tell, I have been trying to get guests, but it's always a slog trying to find somebody. But that's me. I had this weird thing. I had my you want to hear an odd story? This is an odd story. My ex-girlfriend's dad called me by mistake yesterday. Now I've been dude, it's so weird, right? So I'm sitting on the couch. My girlfriend's right next to me. Biscuit's to the left, the cat. So girlfriend to the right of me, cat to the left of me. And I get this phone call, and it's from Maine. And I go, I wonder who this is, right? So I click on, and he goes, Andy, I can't believe I called you again. And it's like, is this Rick? And so it turns out that he switched phones, and for some reason, my phone number was still on the SIM card, I guess. And so he called me once before, like months after the breakup and everything, by mistake. And it's like, Rick, what are you doing? And then and this is where, of course, no story of Andy Hall's either goes funny or dark within the first 2 seconds. So you got whatever little bit of comedy, everyone, in that story, and now comes the darkness. It turns out he has pneumonia from COVID, and his wife, my ex-girlfriend's mom, was in the hospital getting checked out for similar symptoms. And so I'm going, holy fuck. And of course my girlfriend is listening, right? Is listening to the whole conversation to the right of me, wondering what the F is going on. And so there had to be some kind of explanation afterwards. It's like, so it was a weird 5 minutes worth of conversation.
Yeah. I'm, just throwing it out there. Is there a slight possibility that the ex-girlfriend said to her dad, yeah, I wonder if that prick's still alive? And he goes, hang on, I'll call him.
Well, to tell you the truth, you can just Google search me. If you use the right phrase, because there's a lot of Andrew Halls. But if you use Andrew Scott Hall, my middle name, or if you use Andrew Hall Atheist, I'm all over. You can see whether or not I'm around or not. But no, there's more than likely, because once again, my ex-girlfriend's dad, great guy, but he was stressed out, and new phone, and really smart guy, but he always has his brain on 50 different things at once. So it's totally believable that he was like just trying to contact her and hit my number by mistake. Yeah. And my girlfriend was gracious enough to listen to me out as against to attacking me, saying, why is your, of all people, your ex-girlfriend's dad calling you?
I would also say that the girlfriend is smart enough to understand how modern technology works and how it interfaces with people at our age or older.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, this is more likely that it was an accident.
Yeah, or my fictitious God. Yeah, because having dated people not smart or not as I mean, and when I say not as smart as me, that's really sad, to tell you the truth. But it's really sad. But she is, like I said, smart and able to take in, and we have a great relationship, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So all of that helps.
She sounds like she's a enthusiastic cat trainer as well.
Oh, I was out for a walk yesterday, and I brought in the box before I went off to work, and I came back. We had dinner, and then I thought, well, I'm just gonna. And she made these great falafel pockets, fried up some falafel. But that's besides the point. I went off for a walk, and then when I came back, she had constructed this cat playground for all intents and purposes. And I'll show pictures of it, right? It looks similar to yours, Dave, what you have in the background. There's different levels, and there's a little cat toy. And that cat would not go near that thing. She was just uninterested. So I'll be interested to see how the girlfriend has done trying to tempt the cat to go in.
Yeah, they usually find it in their own time. If your cat is an indoor-outdoor cat, they will be used to climbing things to get a better vantage or perspective of the area they're in. They will climb a cat tree in the house pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Other cats who are looking for a comfy place to sit realize that you're not sitting up there making it warm. So if you put it like a hot water bottle on it and then put the cat down on it when it's nice and warm, they'll be like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't know this was warm.
Also, the crucial part is you want the cat to do it.
Yeah.
So you haven't got a hope in hell.
Don't touch. Put a cup up there like a plastic tumbler and tell them, do not knock this off the counter. Put it up on top. It'll be there in 5 minutes.
Tell me if I'm wrong on this, but there has to be a device like a heating pad, right? Or a heating pad that turns on when there's pressure on it, specifically designed for cats.
It would be really easy to design.
Yeah.
Because cats weigh like 7 to 10 pounds. You could set something up with a 5-pound pressure switch just under on the top of the platform. You could have a 3/4 inch piece of plywood with a 5-pound pressure switch. So when the cat got onto that, it would connect, right?
You see, now here's what I'm really good at is thinking about those kind of things. What I'm not good at is actually making those things. I do have a friend who's very good at making those things, who lives in the next town over. So
there you go. Is it Rick?
Not Rick. Rick's in another state, brother. Rick's in another state.
As I thought, it's even easier than that. $59.98 on Crazy Sales. Automatic cat heating pad.
Oh, you're singing my song, Sammy.
So,
thank you.
Oh, look at that. $30 for a dog one.
Don't go cheap.
No. Get the $60 one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably a wise choice. Thanks, Sammy. I appreciate that.
And possibly steer clear from crazysales.com.
Inspired confidence. See, now that's the wonders of the After Party After Show, everyone. We solve problems here. We are problem solvers.
Also, I think if you kind of have the what do they call him? The crazy scientist mechanic guy. If you have that built, yeah, I love that. The old Rick and Morty reference.
Yeah.
If you have that built by someone and it just happens to be like 120 volts, you might not want any like exposed wires or switches or something the cat can get its paw into and perhaps get frazzled.
Yes, I was thinking about that too.
Definitely never go back to the cat tree.
Yes, that would be one trial learning. That's the term we use in the psychology field. One trial learning. Yeah. So I'll talk to the girlfriend. I think she's actually doing work right now. I don't see her in the chat. Oh, there she goes. I sent you a picture of the cat using the tree. We have success, everyone.
I knew she would.
Yeah, she's. I don't have my cell phone with me. Is it in my iPad? Oh, hey, I got an attachment. Oh, she's a good-looking cat. I tell you that too. I'm sorry, Sammy. I know that you're not really pro cat. Me talking about, as Sammy said before I got the cat. You know, I'm already sick about you talking about the cat, Andy. Yeah. You don't even have the
cat. It's fine, Andy.
Okay.
Biscuits is a very cute cat.
Yeah.
And he's orange. The only cat I ever owned was orange.
Oh, good.
Oh, I've had a gray cat, a black and white cat, a couple of orange cats, and a brownish striped cat. And my sister has a Bengal cat.
Oh, yeah. Those are nice looking cats.
Yeah. I showed you its evil face scowling at me one day.
Oh, I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I'm doing.
Did you figure it out?
I'm figuring it out right now, and I should be able to have the cat because of my lack of technological skills. I'm sure I'll have a picture of the cat ready by the end of the show, so I can share.
Can I point out too, just for the sake of pointing it out, that the four of us were sitting here, you know, figuring out how to engineer some sort of cat heating pad. Meanwhile, the girlfriend's already solved the problem hours ago. Be scared because she's clearly just outsmarted a cat.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, that's yeah. That is the scary thing. I was, you know, she doesn't see all the shows, obviously. But I was telling her about my strategy of when I'm interacting with her face to face is how I try to do improv. I try to not go to the next point that I think of, but I try to do the next point after that point because I already assume she's already thought of that point.
That's so considerate of you, Andy. I wish people would do that for me. I'm like, oh, for God's sake, I'm 3 steps ahead of that already. Like, catch up.
I don't know if I could do 3. So, that's it. You raise an interesting point, Sammy, is that maybe she's actually 3 steps ahead. And I don't know how to do that. I don't know how I can manage that.
She's thinking, God, he's slow.
Wouldn't be the first person. Well, my idiocy really appears when I'm doing, either math, technology. Actually, there's quite a list.
Andy, you're great at what you do, and you do what you do in a great way.
Well, that's
we're all here because we enjoy it. So just shut up and take it.
Once again, Dave, the check's in the mail. I'm going to try to get my insurance company actually to reimburse Dave for his kind of words.
I think some of the best advice, and I should follow it myself one day actually, was my father before he passed. One of the few or only times that he tried to seek help for his depression. One of the things that I don't know, psychologist, psychiatrist, so I'm just going to say therapist, got him to do was to sit down and literally write down everything he could possibly think of that he was capable of doing. From very basic things down to the things that he was specifically good at, like welding and the specific types of welding. And he said he got about 4 or 5 pages in and stopped because the point hit home. and he realized just all the things that he'd achieved in his life and all the things that he could do. And I just thought that's a really wonderful technique, little tool that I think everyone could benefit from sitting down and really reflecting on all those good parts of ourselves rather than, we always usually dwell on what we're doing wrong. And
this is true. It's very easy to, and I think our brains are kind of wired, or at least some of our brains are wired for this, is to focus on the stuff that you haven't done well or the stuff where you came up short. But trying to focus in on the positives. That's a great exercise, Sammy. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. That was good. Yeah.
And it's sort of, it ties into something I've recently heard and had never thought of before, was how much time we can waste, to put it bluntly, remembering. So, all those, I should have said this, I should have done that. I've spent more nights than not doing exactly that.
Yeah.
It's also in human nature when we succeed, or when we're successful, we measure that as I was number 1, I was number 2, I was number 3, I was number 4. But when you fail, there is a clear black line, and everything, if you failed by the slightest of margins or you failed completely, it's exactly the same chemistry in our brain that works on that thought. It's just fail. There's only fail. There's no measurement of it, right? And I think that plays into it as well, because you have, it's really easy to bury something that you weren't as successful as you wanted to be into that was a failure.
Dave, out of all that inspirational speech that you just gave, I got always fail.
You got what?
I can see it in your eyes, Andy.
Always fail.
Yeah.
It was like a little twitch in the corner of your eye every time I said fail.
So here in my well, this is the cat in the
Hey. Well, it's
there
only
it is.
on level 1. You got to get it up a little higher.
Man, bits and pieces, one step at a time, or one paw at a time, right? The fact that the cat's inside the freaking box
and seated, like it's not like
seated.
the cat got stuffed in there and said, "Hey, where the hell am I?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we don't know. That could have been the split second before the cat jumped out of the box.
She's got an
The girlfriend just
with
got
high
it.
speed, and she's capturing 60 images a second.
So you're saying there needs to be video evidence, Sammy? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Well, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, so that you might be on something there.
Has the cat purred?
Oh, the cat purrs all the time.
Good. Yeah.
But not in. The cat purrs all the time. So I imagine if the cat's in the tree, in the edifice for more than 2 seconds, then the cat would be purring. Yes.
See, and that's another reason why I take issue with cats. It's purring could mean it's extremely comfortable or it's in extreme distress. Who knows? Only the cat.
Only the cat knows, and you will too, probably at some point.
I have heard a lioness purr, and I challenge any of you to tell the difference between a 420-pound lioness purring and growling, because they sound the same to me.
Well, I would just keep to my policy of staying away from such an animal. I think that would be my policy.
I think I told you about it. I got to pet the lioness from the movie Bird on a Wire, because I knew a guy who knew a guy, and we went onto the lot and we saw some of the animals. But getting to there was people who literally backed 100 feet away and wouldn't go near it, and I was like, this would be a cool way to die.
I would want to use like a stunt hand, maybe. Like.
Well, the other guy, the guy with the chain, he had like one of those pokey pit bull chains, which again, I mentioned back then would probably not have bothered the lioness in any way at all. But he had one of those chains on, was holding it, and not very tight. It was quite, it was like healing, if you would, like a dog would, just walking along with him. And he petted it, and it was fine. And he's like, just don't startle it, and pet it hard so that it doesn't think there's a fly or a bug or a bird on it, and it'll reach up and swat your hand, which would be a bad day.
You know, I had a pit bull Rottweiler mix, and I have to tell you, those pit bull chains didn't bother it at all either.
No,
it did. Yeah.
No, my friend had a Rottie, and it would drag him everywhere with that chain on it, to the point where it actually would like hurt itself. You know, it didn't stop it at all, regardless of how much it hurt. Yeah. Jesse Bear says, I've been grocery shopping with the toddler. Thank you guys for keeping me sane. All right. If that's what we're doing, Jesse Bear, I'm glad to provide some kind of service. I'm glad it wasn't difficult to keep you that sane.
I'm wondering if the comments about petting lions made her think about shopping with her toddler.
Yeah, I'd rather be petting a lion than doing this.
Yeah.
I generally don't like to pay exorbitant amounts of money for things that I have to sign death waivers for.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
What do you mean?
If I have to sign a thing that means my family won't sue you if I die, I generally don't want to also then pay you lots of money to have to do that experience.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Like pet a lion that could eat me.
Well, no, this wasn't a pay for thing. This was a like pre-work stopover before the movie set got going, and we knew a guy, so he brought us in and showed us the baboon and the lions and the predator birds and stuff like that before the day got going. And then we went for breakfast.
Now, how close did you get to the baboon, Dave?
We were like close enough, maybe 6 feet from the cage. You wouldn't want to get close enough so this thing could reach you through the bars, because it could tear your arm off through the bars.
I was going to say, I would be feeling kind of iffy about the baboon too, because I've read stuff about baboons, and they can be pretty nasty animals, right?
They are remarkably strong. They're one of the strongest creatures. They can tear a bear apart. The baboon that we saw, its name was Booner, and it has an IMDb page somewhere. I'm sure it's been in multiple movies. But this thing was on, they call it an elephant chain. There was it was in a cage. I use the term cage loosely. It was probably 16 feet by 16 feet by 12 feet high. So a big caged enclosure. Right. And in the center, there was a chain hanging down. And on the bottom of the chain was one of those blocks that they have in like traffic control or construction sites that looks like the concrete base of a telephone pole.
Sure.
And on it, it was spray painted 300 pounds. And this baboon climbed up this chain about foot and a half from the roof and picked up the chain from underneath. So hanging on with one hand, picking up with the other hand, and swung this thing around in a loop in front of us to show us how strong he was.
It's just showing off.
Yeah.
I could probably do that. Maybe not.
It would probably dislocate both of your shoulders.
It would.
Yeah, when I was young, I was all about, love the animals. I want to hug all the animals. They're great. The older I get, it's like animals are awesome. I know they're important. We need them, but they can stay over there and I'll stay over here.
I'm staying in my lane.
I'm staying in my house.
And like it's remarkable that there's as many people on this planet as there is with the type of creatures that we have. Like you look at the Man of War jellyfish.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's a cute little soft jellyfish. Dead.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. True enough. I would say that my many anxieties and fears have kept me out of many dangerous situations. I'll say that.
But that's a good thing.
It is. It is.
Yeah,
It
you
is
can't
very
count
positive.
that in the negative. That's not a fail.
That's not a fail.
Top. Put that on the top.
That's right. It's it's like male pattern baldness. It has survived evolution because it doesn't affect a man's ability to procreate.
Yep.
So we.
Whoa. Hang on. There's what GE says, citation needed, or citation effing needed. The men today are a direct reflection of the selective properties of the females in the communities in which we live, because the reproduction is dependent on who those females choose to mate with.
Well, that doesn't really take into effect patriarchy, though. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. But I'm talking about the overwhelming majority.
Right now, right here, sure. In our Western society, yes, women do get to choose their mates for all intent, or they get to have some say in it. Let's, they get to choose.
Even in a situation where a woman and a man are together, where there's an arranged marriage or some other situation, if that woman does not appreciate that man in a sexual way, the incident of the act of intimacy, creating children, are going to be lessened, because
maybe, possibly. I mean, if you're out in on the subcontinent, right? If you're in India and you're off in one of the small villages where there are arranged marriages and there's hardcore patriarchy, hardcore hierarchy there, then I would say the woman may have a negligible. She might have some say, but does it really count?
I think it's very optimistic of you, actually, Dave. Sadly, I think it's only a very recent thing and very Western that women. I mean, even just looking at my parents in Australia, their religion still had so much influence. My mother did have say in choosing to wed my father, but there was no choice after that fact. She could not divorce him if she chose, and stuff like that.
So, yeah, I agree. There is. I mean, we are looking at it through our own life experience and our own knowledge of what the world. It'd be interesting to see the numbers of where we've come in the last 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, as far as that goes. But it's a number that's almost unachievable by research, right? So,
what's interesting. I mean, this is going on selection about what people find attractive. I was reading this study, and I was talking to other comedians about this, is that, people always say they want someone who's funny, at least women, in their dating profile. A lot of them say, I want someone who's funny. And yes, but that's a secondary trait.
Yes.
Typically, that is a secondary trait. There are a bunch of primary traits that need to be clicked off or ticked off, like check marked before you get to, are you funny? And I remember reading a study about that, and definitely there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that supports it.
And even to the point, probably much to Andy's detriment, and a point that I think he was avoiding saying, is that it's actually detrimental to have that as the first point.
Oh yeah, dude, you got to be like, if that's your first point, is being funny, you have to work that really hard.
Yeah.
You have to be
really good at it.
Yeah,
Andy, you're smart, you're funny, and you're attractive, and you're not completely broke, and you're well motivated, you're hardworking.
Oh yeah.
Even if you work in an industry that's not the highest paid industry in your area, you still have many, many good qualities, and you have a lot more above the fail line than you do below.
I will say this, is that over time, it's like I have gotten to appreciate me being not being tall is a superpower in a lot of ways. Unfortunately, I was reading through Freakonomics, the original Freakonomics book, and there's a whole chapter. I believe there's a chapter about heightism, and that if you're, Fortune 500 companies, CEOs are all over 6 feet tall. Then there's a dramatic chance. There's a percentage greater chance of being a CEO of a Fortune 500 company if you're over 6'3" too. So heightism, it is unfortunately very real.
Yeah, Tony Robbins.
That guy. I can't believe we don't talk about that guy. Burns my ass too, by the way. He bugs me.
Here, let me throw some more acid in your breakfast.
Yeah, he bugs me a lot, Tony Robbins. But keep going, Dave. I'm sorry.
He is 2.01 meters. He's not that tall. They did a thing where they had, I guess he's 6 feet tall. So, he's in that range, just over 6 feet tall. So they did a thing where they had a guy who was like 5'3", balding and overweight, get on stage and say the same things that Tony Robbins said at a motivational speaking event. And like 30% of the people watching walked out before it ended. Yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Why don't you like Tony Robbins? Just because he's full of crap and selling books?
As Jesse Bear says, Tony is a cult leader. I was trying to think of an eloquent way of saying it, but Tony is a cult leader.
I like Brainbug's comment from a little bit ago. I'm going to die petting something I shouldn't.
You got to go somehow. So maybe that's not the worst way.
The chat is on fire.
Right.
Yeah. So you think he's... is Tony Robbins a Scientologist as well?
I don't think so, but I don't know. I'm going to...
No, that would be crossing cults, right? Like,
yes. Tony Robbins. Yeah, I don't think he would be. I don't think that kind of ego could be in someone else's cult, to tell you the truth.
Well, he could, if he did merge up with them in some sort of agreement fashion, having him bring his audience to them and having their audience exposed to somebody that charismatic and cult leaderish would drastically benefit them both, especially if Scientology gets into a declining spiral, which I hope they do soon. But he hasn't done much that I've heard about lately, but in Canada, he can't get up here right now. He has been in Vancouver a few times.
Sure. So I believe from what a cursory look here, Googling it, is that Robbins isn't associated with Scientology, but supposedly stole some ideas from Scientology, and is into neuro-linguistic programming, which sounds like snake oil to me. Neuro-linguistic programming. Yeah,
that sounds a little Deepak Chopra. Yeah,
it does. It sounds like EST too, Earhart Seminar Training, which is the forum. I had a girlfriend who was in the forum, Earhart Seminar Training, and that sounds like self-actualizing yourself through words and thought exercises and stuff.
Come to my personal refreshing seminar.
That's right. The only thing that's going to be refreshed, the only thing that's going to happen is that you're going to lose a lot of money.
If you watch the Anti-Bot, Taylor, who is the spouse of can't think of his name right now. Anyway, Taylor, the Anti-Bot, look it up on YouTube. She's on Twitter as well. She does a lot of counter MLM or debunking MLM stuff. And if you really dig into the numbers on what's going on in most MLMs, you'll find that a bunch of ultra rich people bought out a failed MLM and hired a production company to put together some outstanding videos for them. And they don't make money on the initial investment. The investment is usually about $49 to $149 to get you some product. And the idea of that is to connect you to the MLM, right? To make your commitment real. Then
First one's free.
and then what they do is for the first month they give you access to all of their sales and motivational materials, and then once you opt in and you become like you start selling, you become a full-time member, then they sell you audio tapes, or what would now be like downloads, right? They sell you a subscription to their downloads and their books, and that's where they make all their money. The people at the very top are making, $100,000 a year or whatever off of the MLM once it gains traction and has enough, people in there selling and moving product. They don't care about the product at all. They're barely even associated with it, especially the aromatherapy jackasses. That's just a big, horrible thing. But where the people at the top are making their money is when they have these meetings, they say, I realize you're doing good at this now, but you could be doing so much better. You've got to get on the materials. You've got to get on the tapes. You've got to be part of the meetings and programs. You've got to opt in for the books. You've got to get all this underneath you because that's where you're going to make your money. No, that's where they're going to make their money.
Yeah.
Right. And it's that always selling thing, right? ABS, always be selling.
Always be selling. Or ABC, always be catting.
Catting,
right? When you have a cat, that's what I'm doing.
No, you have to leave the cat alone or it won't like you.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah. The cat will decide if it likes you eventually.
So multi-level marketing. It sounds very Ponzi scheme-ish.
It's terrifying to look at the U.S. system and see how many holes could be easily plugged up by the government by establishing business rules for disclosure and for these types of businesses that depend on what they call pyramidic descending commissions, right? And they are predatory. They are like, there are people who are told, go to your church. You need to market this at your church. There's a lot of people there who should be involved in this in your church. Well, the church teaches you to believe on faith.
Yes.
So when someone who's in a position of power or a position of influence at your church comes and tells you, I'm making $1,000 a month, or I'm doing so well already, I'll be working from home by the end of the year. Well, their eyes light up.
Yep.
Got to be true. I heard it at church, right? Who would lie to me in a church?
No one. Jesse Bear says, I got sucked into an LM in my early 20s. They were all about getting more people in. Yeah. Got out.
I had a friend get me into Amway when I was younger, and I thought, oh, I've heard horrible things about this company. I want to take a look.
Right.
And I had the money to jump in, and he was a very good friend of mine, and I thought the very least I can do is give it a shake. So I got into this, and I have at the time I was in auto mechanics and accounting. So very analytical, very diagnostic, very that sort of mind. So there was products that they said, you've got to order these like every month. And I said, well, I don't need to buy $7 a roll toilet tissue. And my girlfriend at the time hated the things that they sold for women, like pantyhose and feminine products, and that they were all awful compared to what you could get in the store.
Right.
They touted, oh, this is the best dishwashing liquid you'll ever try, and it's super concentrated. It was no better than Dawn. So we went through the whole list, and I actually went and shopped their products versus what I could get at Superstore. And their big thing is, we sell it to you bulk, we sell it to you cheap, it's all this. I worked it out on paper and took it in and sat down with the guy who got me in, the guy who got him in, and the guy above him. Because I said, if you guys want to see this, let's get together. So they did one of their rah meetings. And after the meeting, we sat down with my spreadsheets and everything. And I went through it with them. And I said, do you realize on every shopping trip that I go on, I'm giving you $32 that I shouldn't be giving you for products I don't like. And I said, "What's your commission this month?" And my friend said, "About $30. What do you get off of that?" $250 per person. For the the next upline gets a smaller percentage.
Right.
I said, "Do you see where your $32 is coming from? It's coming from here, right out of my freaking wallet."
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
And all three of them quit within 2 months.
Wow. Well, that's good for you, Dave. Good for you. I thought you
Needless
were going
to
to get
say-
stoned or pillared or
Needless to say, I also quit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's how it works. Is they make they allow the people near the bottom who are getting more people in. They allow them to see a little smidgen of money.
Yeah.
And then if you work out, even if you work out that your spare time that you're putting into this is only worth $10 an hour. If you're doing 4 meetings plus an hour of an ordering phone call, plus you're listening to tapes, watching videos, and out there marketing the program, trying to get people to join up underneath you, you're I would say on average 20 hours a week at $10 an hour you're throwing away, right? And that was back in the day. I mean, if you take the living wage of today of $15 an hour, that's money you're just burning. It's time is money, and your money has value, and you're throwing it away.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's a good job. Yeah. Definitely, Jesse Bear. Good job getting him out, Dave.
Well, that wasn't my intent. My intent was to explain to them why I was leaving. This is why I'm done.
So take this, I can just see you right starting the conversation. This is not a "you're full of shit" conversation. This is "this is why I'm leaving" conversation.
But that's the thing, is nobody's ever taught, like, the last thing an MLM wants you to do is start an accounting program or open a spreadsheet. They're like, "No, we've got all that covered. Our system handles that."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but watch the Antibot. She's awesome.
Yeah,
Taylor's
I'm looking
great.
at her channel right now, and I'm looking. Yeah, I subscribed. I just hit the subscribe button. So,
Yeah.
Because I really don't know a lot about MLM. I know the basic Betsy DeVos, evil people, blah 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 kind of stuff. But
Speaking of Amway.
yeah.
Well, there's the I think the aromatherapy ones are the most predatory.
Right, because their products don't do anything; they just smell.
Well, those in the homeopathy, right? They're when they say, "Oh, we have lots of evidence that these work," and then you go onto their website and there's a huge disclaimer that these are not to be taken as a medical product or anything like that, and all of the references in their thing are anecdotal testimonials, right? Yeah. This is another one that gets me really well. I'm going to share my screen with you. This is today's horoscopes.
There we go. Yeah, I like that. I've seen that before. It's good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Or as we call them in Canada, the horrible scopes.
The horrible scopes. Nice. Yeah, CBD, right? That's the marijuana or non-marijuana CBD oil. Is that it? Do I have the right term?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? They're doing an MLM for CBD? Or is he just being silly?
Maybe he's just being silly. It's tough to tell. Tough to tell.
I've never been
He's being over smart.
An MLM, but I was involved in selling door-to-door online degrees, believe it or not.
Okay, so I just want to understand this again. So you were selling online degrees door to door.
Correct.
I'm intrigued, Sammy.
And there was a retainer, but the idea was that you were paying that back once you started selling enough of these degrees. But long story short, it was just a complete scam. This degree, or these degrees that they were selling, so they got lots of famous people to do lectures, and I'm doing air quotes, lectures, where they just basically told their story, how they got rich. And that was the business degree. So the spiel was, you're being taught by ex-prime ministers and leaders in the field, and we literally had to practice the spiel
Basically
word
Trump
for
University.
word. Yeah. And like the Australian government will provide every Australian citizen a HEX fee, I think up to $60,000. And you don't have to pay that back. You only ever pay it back through the tax system. So when you pay your tax, it comes out of that. So you're never actually out of pocket, and you don't start paying it back until you earn. At that time, it was $55,000 a year. It's now up to $60,000 a year. So, you sort of give them a nudge, you're not going to earn that much for ages. So you're not even going to have to pay it back for a long time. These degrees were bogus, obviously, and you'd pay 20 grand or whatever, or get yourself into 20 grand debt with the government, not finish the course, because the people that we were targeting were in lower socioeconomic areas, and telling them this is a way out, it's free basically, and within about 2 or 3 weeks realizing how it all worked and what it all was, so
Right.
I was out.
Predatory private schools, it's of course it's a problem here in the States. A friend of mine, her son, who has a disability, and this is a true story, by the way. I can't give the names because she wouldn't want me to divulge that. But one of the people in the school faked his test scores for him to get into this private school, college, trade school, really. And he flunked out, of course, within the first semester, maybe the second semester. And so she's on the hoof. She went to court with them, and she has to pay half, which is still well over $15,000. Criminal stuff going on out there, yeah.
It makes you wonder what I've heard of that a few times. Parents that have different ways and means of rigging their kids' test results and things to get them into schools. What do they think's going to happen once they're at the school?
Well, that's yes. There are some schools. My girlfriend and I, we talk about schools every once in a while, and she will say things like, like for Harvard, for example. Supposedly, the hardest thing about Harvard is getting in. Once you're in, things, from what she reports, are fairly lax. At least that's what the word is, as against the places like MIT or where she went to, Rice University, that, you're basically in a meat grind or intellectually stimulating and challenging environment. But I think in general, Sammy, you're spot on with the fact that if you're faking test scores, then you're in for trouble once you actually get in school. The insidious thing about her story and her son's story is that she didn't know the school was faking his test scores, and her son didn't tell her until after he dropped out, and that's when the legal recourse started occurring. Yeah.
I think your tuition should be based on your grade point average. So anything in the 390 or above, you go to university for free. Anything below that, you start paying. And if you're a rich prick's kid who hasn't put any effort into their education, you pay whatever it would cost for like 5 other people to go to that educational institution, so that you're supporting the program rather than bleeding it with nonsense.
Considering I graduated with a 3.5, I totally support that, Dave. I may not get a free deal, but I would have paid a lot.
But it would be affordable.
That would have been affordable, yeah.
Yeah, believe it or not, we Australia actually had free university, and for a long time. And then one day, the very politicians that benefited from that free university turned around and privatized it all, and we pay, through the nose like everyone else now. And most Australians can't afford to go to university. It's
that's sad.
Well, I think we're getting to a point where you. I don't know if Australia is like that, but in Canada, you almost can't afford not to. Anybody with a CV, a resume that has no post-secondary education on it, it's that whole idea of, how bad do they want to work? What's their work experience?
Yeah,
they haven't done anything since high school. They haven't got any post-secondary education. Garbage. There's 30 other resumes in there with a degree on them.
And Australia's always had this. We're obsessed with labor, so you could be doing, a master's degree in physics, but your parents would be like, "Make sure you have a trade to fall back on."
Absolutely, and you hear that a lot out here, but it's not practiced a lot. And I know in Australia, I think I told you guys about my electrician buddy who went there to work after the storms wiped out Christchurch, and he ended up working there as an electrician for a couple of years, and they offered him a lifetime work permit for $3,000, and he jumped on that. He can go there anytime he wants and work in Australia. So he's literally a snowbird. He's going to go back and forth, and he married and had a baby with a beautiful Australian woman, cloned, I'm sure, but
Right. So for those of us just looking at the chat, they do have an MLM for CBD, and there are actually two of them. Multi-level marketing for CBD. So that's interesting. Horrific, but interesting at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the whole plan and program, and you see, the BITE model of, behavior information, the idea behind a cult, and you look at what they're doing and how they're doing it. I don't want to say there needs to be government intervention, but it's one of those things that we're not teaching epistemology, and we're not teaching real life skills in secondary school. We have a program called social studies, and it doesn't teach you anything about how to live in this social world.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you're right. There's no class in rhetoric. There's no class in logic. There's nothing like that. There's no, and that should be criminal, to tell you the truth.
And that leads to, I'm going to make up an adjective, cultiness, doesn't it? Then.
I don't know if it leads directly into cultiness, but it leads into unsubstantiated belief in a lot of things, and particularly politics. And that's why politicians won't vote to put this in, because the more educated the populace is, the less likely they are able to pull their bullshit off, right?
I think one of the things that make me difficult to be around is my desire just to call bullshit. I know. It's just like, that's bullshit, right? That thing that's being said right there, that is bullshit. Well, and the thing is, I say it a lot because there happens to be a lot of bullshit around.
I was speaking with somebody just last week who told me about the whole they were talking about a specific medical condition and how a normal everyday practice could prevent this medical condition. And I said, that doesn't sound right. Do you have any sources of information from this? Oh, I hear it all the time. Okay, but in small circles, you can hear something all the time. That doesn't make it true. So I looked this up online, and the largest association globally for this medical condition has a notation on their website that states that this information is false. I mean, it literally would take you under 30 seconds to debunk this.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That's that is sad.
Yeah, but and it's literally the case that they've done no research, zero. It is hearsay.
Yeah.
It is 100% hearsay. But they'll defend it like, like they've written a paper on the damn thing.
And if you talk to a guy who's 80 years old and was around when charlatans ran through town with Dr. Quacky's miracle elixir,
Yeah.
And you talk to them about trust but check, they understand that the first time you say that. That's what my papa told me when I was a kid, right?
Yeah, there should be a class in elementary school dedicated to gingerbread houses and the dangers where they're in. I think that would be a good class, mandatory.
Well, I think it's something that needs to be hit on. In elementary school, it wouldn't hurt to start early with a little bit of like how many jelly beans are in here.
Yeah.
Is it an even number or is it an odd number? Does it have to be one or the other? Like, get the brain working in that vein.
There has to be some kind of connection between, and I know this is going to go sideways a bit. There should be something about the man in the white van with puppies in the van.
That went really sideways.
And multi-level marketing. Because there's a clear line there. There's a clear line.
I don't know if that line's connected, but they definitely cross somewhere.
It's too good to be true. And it's dangerous.
So you're saying the guy in the MLM with the garbage bag full of candy is also running an MLM at night?
And leading a cult.
I think this is a good place to close. I think this is a good place to start to close, to tell you the truth. We're about running up on our time.
When I was in middle school, we went and had a class where it went through all the deceptive marketing tactics and everything and how to critically analyze the claims of stuff.
This is my I don't believe. Where did you go to school? What
Suburbs of Twin Cities.
Atlantis.
Yeah.
That would have been a great answer.
Wow. Well, job well done for that school system, I have to tell you. Everything I learned about this stuff, I had to learn on my own, basically.
Yeah, I'd like to see, what you were talking about a moment ago is Darren Brown. If they showed some of his videos about how people get spoofed, and there's a series in the UK, I don't know if we can put a link in here somewhere later, but it's called The Real Hustle. And they do all kinds of things where they are TRH Industries or TRH Marketing and all this stuff. And they scam people hard. And then, they tell them about it afterwards and say, hey, can we use your video on the TV? They scam people at car sales, buying televisions, equipment rentals, everything under the sun. There's series after series of this thing with different famous actors.
There's 11 seasons to that too. I'm just looking at the show.
It's fantastic. And they should send kids home, like give it to them free on DVD and say, watch this and see how people get scammed easily and how easy it is to make someone believe something that is not true.
The one episode I remember of that, he was convincing a whole bunch of people that they witnessed a murder. And then seeing who would go along with it, who would get sucked into it, and who
was that on TRH or was that on Darren Brown?
That was Darren Brown.
Yeah.
They witnessed somebody get pushed off the roof.
Yeah. I vaguely recall seeing that one. Yeah. But it is easy. The human brain and the way the human optical and memory and everything works. It's fallible.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you know how to exploit it, and you know, like if a policeman says, "What color hat was he wearing?" instead of saying, tell me about the person who committed this crime. Well, it was really dark. Okay, so you said he was black and he was wearing a hoodie. Well, you know,
leading questions. Unfortunately, we really do have to go. I have to go to work. Everyone, I'm doing the same crazy thing, or we're doing the same crazy thing next Monday. Saturday is Atheist Drinking Out Loud, 5 p.m. Eastern. Sunday, I'm doing some kind of late show at 10:30 p.m. with my buddy Jack Paterko. And so thanks, panel, for popping in. Thanks, chat, for
thanks again, Andy, for putting a show together and having us on to enjoy time with you, praising you in the way that you rightly deserve, hitting that like button and sharing this with all of our friends.
You know, when you say nice words like that, it makes me think of the gingerbread house, Dave.
Well, let's get you a sugar patron then, so you don't have to go to work anymore.
Right. Well, that would be an ideal, wouldn't it? All right, everyone. Take care.
Hooroo.